If you've never been to an African funeral, basically the way they last forever, right? I think we basically, it's almost like Africans have said, the funeral must be as long as your life was. So it was really long, but it was actually quite enjoyable because all of my grandmother's friends spoke, all the friends who are still alive, right? Because she was 96. You know, they'd be like, I remember when I met her in 1948 and we went out together and we partied. And I'm like, my grandma partied? You know, and then other women would talk about, one of my favorite stories was one of her neighbors talking about how my grandmother would always open her house to all the women in the community who needed it. You know, so some women who were being abused would go live with her, and then I didn't know these things about my gran. You know, I didn't know who was living there or was. I didn't know what their stories were as a kid. I'd see people, but I didn't. You know, I'm a child. I'm not going to be walking up to people and be like, "What's your issue?" So what was fascinating was that, and I think what it left me with is my grandmother's legacy to me personally was like food and love. But I realized her legacy as a whole was more how she treated the people around her, everyone she came into contact with. And it was wonderful watching all these grannies give speeches that never ended. And then the pastor would have to like come in slowly. He's like, okay. He's like, okay, and like grab the microphone and then be like, he was like, okay, that's enough. And I think that was it. So if there's one way I would try and keep my grandmother's legacy alive, is just by remembering the tiny impact you can have on somebody's life that may stick with them long after you're gone. That might be it.